It's a nerd school.
Almost everyone is super competitive.
But like, what do you mean by it's not a UWC?
Run to the cafeteria for the chicken ziti.
Frozen pizza for the vegetarians.
Before we get into the video, there are mainly two things that I want you guys to keep in mind. One, as cliche as it sounds, it is true that everyone's UWC experience is different. So please don't assume, oh, this is what this college is like based on whatever this person said in the video, because obviously your experience is not going to be the same as everyone else. Two, the UWCs are constantly changing, which is exactly why I only invited class of 2022. This is our lens of the UWC with the pre-context of COVID. So yeah, keep that in mind. We physically was not able to cover everything. So if you are a new student and you're looking for information, then make sure to actually go out and seek information on your own. I also contacted these people and it was a little scary, but they all turned out to be really nice, so you can do it too. If you are a returning or an alumni, then make sure to comment your UWC experience below. It will help people out. I think this video was solely made for fun. It's not official. Please take it with a grain of salt, and I hope you enjoy. So without further ado, I'm gonna ask you guys to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Alicia. She, her, hers. I'm from UWC USA in the US.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Lavanya. My pronouns are she, her. I'm from UWC SAA East Campus in Singapore.
Hi, I'm Surya. Pronouns are he, him, and I go to UWC Dilijan in Armenia.
Hi, my name is Zoe. I just graduated from UWC Adriatic in Italy, and my pronouns are she and her.
Hi, I'm Annette. I go to UWC SEA Dover in Singapore, and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Joe, and I'm in the same school as her, and my pronouns is he, him.
Great, thank you guys so much. We'll dive into the video. So we'll start off with food.
In terms of food diversity, on like a normal day, I'll give it like a 4 out of 5. But then there's like certain like special days throughout the year when we like focus on like a certain region. So like, for example, we'll have like Asian food, like South American food. I mean, the cafeteria tries their best when we have like a regional dinner. And in terms of quality, because the school's budget for the cafeteria is not how it was pre-COVID, so quality right now I would say is 3 out of 5, but it just really depends on how much budget they're putting into the cafeteria.
No, even at East, the diversity is really, really good. I mean, I don't know what to compare it to, so I'd say that's 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. And the same thing when there's special occasions, the school makes an effort to talk to students and get student input and what dishes are typical of different cultures. For quality, if you ask the students there, I'm sure it'd be a 3 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5, but it's pretty good for the diversity they're able to supply, I'd say.
I'm gonna have to say for diversity, 3 out of 5. Did have those days. There was like cultural days and stuff, and I that was around a 4 out of 5. Quality wise, like we also didn't really have that much budget for the cafeteria, so I would say like as well 3 out of 5, just because it wasn't like it was good, but yeah. I think honestly our food is kind of good. I know the students in our school say it sucks, but like we always slander Sodexo, which is the main company that makes all of our food, but like it's very good for what we have. So honestly, diversity, I give it 4 or 5. Every day you can choose so much options. There's Indian noodles. Quality 3 or 4, 3.5
For day students.
Yeah.
There's a difference between boarding and day students, because for day students it's more diverse. For boarding house it can get a little bad sometimes. I mean, most of the time.
Usually whatever's left over from the day. No, that makes it sound worse than it is. It's just if they have an abundance of like Vietnamese food, that it's Vietnamese food for dinner kind of thing.
We had one meat option, one vegetarian option, one vegan option, which was great. But if you were on one diet, you couldn't take the other. So for example, if you weren't vegetarian, you would have to eat meat for every meal. In terms of quality, I would give it a 4 because it's pretty good. The problem is it just gets repetitive. In terms of diversity, I mean, I'm vegetarian, so I was basically eating pasta once or twice a day, which really sucks. We would have these cultural weeks, and at the end of that week, sometimes you could sort of design a menu for them and they would execute it the best they could, but that would only happen like twice a year. So I would maybe give it 2, the 2 being for those 2 times in the year.
Did you guys ever have like meatless Mondays, just that day?
Yeah. Veggie Wednesday. We had Burger Wednesday and Pizza Fridays.
We had burgers and fries on Wednesday and then vegetarian Friday.
Wait, does it happen for the entire school so everyone has burgers?
Yes, yeah, so the burgers would be the meat option. Frozen pizza for the vegetarian.
We had chicken on Fridays.
I used to go to East, and I remember on Fridays I would just like run to the cafeteria for the chicken 65.
So for us, when it's Burger Wednesday, like everybody eats burgers, but you have like the Beyond Burger for vegans, and then you have like the chicken burger, and then you had the beef burger, and there was like a bunch of options, but it was just burgers.
My question is, do you guys have like cafes in your school? Like we have Samtai.
Ooh, I was the cafe leader. Huh? The cafes are concerts in our school. I'm probably talking about something different than you guys.
We had like a student cafe, so like it was run by students and it would be open in the evening, and then you could just get like noodles, waffles, tea, coffee, and just like basic stuff like that.
We have a cafe. I've been to yours. This is nice. Yeah.
Like this, the Samtai, which is, you know, Sodexo. So
there's like the muffins and the croissants. Yeah.
The wraps that everybody gets, and
Hi, I'm Ya from Malaysia, also studying University John.
We also have this thing called Dover Devours. It's a very funny meme page. It's kind of like a place to expose all your friends and make them look bad. It's great. It really brought the school together. Basically what it is like when your friends look stupid while eating Sodexo.
I'm heartbroken.
Comparison. Like if you compare it to like other school cafeterias, I'm sure it's like restaurant level amazing. But you know, high school students want to shit on something. I mean, hate on something. Can I swear? Pizza, if you remove the pepperoni, it leaves a pink patch underneath. It's pink, like it dyes. That's not normal, right? Salami doesn't. I don't know.
The next theme that we'll go into is academic priority.
So I think the Singaporean schools, or at least East, has kind of garnered itself a reputation of being very academically rigorous, or at least having very high expectations. And you can see that. I mean, just look through the yearbook quotes. They're all about getting more sleep and if the grades are going to be good. So it's pretty academically rigorous, but they have the staff to support that. At least in East, I find that they're good teachers and they have counseling, and they have different resources for students. And the UAC, or the undergraduate support system for applying to colleges, is very strong. They have a whole set of counselors, and you get allocated an individual counselor to help guide you through the whole process starting 2 years before. So I'd say the support is there to warrant the academic expectations that are required, but it's still quite intense at times. I'd say that's one issue that the school deals with, is instead of getting students to be giving more attention to their academics, is telling students to chill out a bit. Like all our pre-exam advice is just please get some sleep and watch a movie or something. Please get a social life. It's a nerd school, if you will, but in a good way. As diverse as it gets is CT or like dance, but otherwise they're pretty standard.
I guess we're definitely not as academically orientated as other UWCs, but then over like the past 2 years of our experience, that we really felt that the school has really tried to push us towards being more academically oriented. It's kind of like they're pushing that agenda, but then they're a bit slow with all the support that comes along with being more academic.
At the same time, I feel like students are also trying to like push back against it a little bit. Like we're saying that we want more of a UWC than just like an Ivy school. And I think the admin is also kind of trying its best. We have like UWC sessions now, like designated time slots for UWC sessions. But we are still pretty academically oriented. There are certain procedures in place to make sure you actually do what you're supposed to do in terms of academic deadlines, and there will be repercussions if you don't.
For example, I don't know if they're going to continue this and if it was like this before, but when we were eventually allowed to go off campus when COVID was okay thing in Armenia, if you had like certain deadlines that you didn't meet or you were late on, then they would gate you, which means you weren't allowed to go off campus until you had finished your whatever you needed to, like your EE, TOK, whatever.
Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy around that. There's been a lot of pushback. So like we'll see how it goes.
Other than that, I would say we're not super academic.
Yeah, at the same time, like Dilijan is very free. Like you have enough space to focus on whatever you want to focus, I would say. Some people are here like for the sake of learning, they love learning, and that's great. Some people are here for the IB, some people are here for the fun, some people are here for UWC, and everyone does have the space to pursue that.
And any weird IB subjects?
We have Russian up initio, and I don't think any other UWC has that. I mean, they tried though. 2 years ago, they tried to have world cultures, and they tried to also like literature and performance for like language A, but then like it didn't work out because there wasn't enough like demand.
So my school, it's fairly academic, but there's a lot of emphasis on extracurriculars as well. I feel like it's pretty balanced. But when it came to, for example, taking IB, school did turn into a very academic, like very like let's do everything we can to facilitate you guys having places to stay, especially since we were evacuated. But in general, like there's a lot of support from teachers as well. Like there's fairly good teachers and everything. We have sports science, but I don't know if other schools have that. We have anthropology. We have theater and dance.
I think ours, we're quite academically focused because like we're in Singapore. Singapore is very academic like country, right? But honestly, I think we also have kind of a balance, but more tending towards academics. We're very strong on our sports and stuff like that. We have like a lot of support. Many teachers are willing to support students. For UAC, honestly, it's a very good system, but similar to East, there's many counselors, but it's very US centered. I feel like I applied for both US and UK. They also kind of are hesitant on you pushing for the higher league schools. They want you to push for lower, even though like many of our students can.
Yeah, I'm the same with her. Singapore overall is just a very competitive country, so everyone is super competitive, and like the school is trying to hold you back, like guys, take a break, watch a movie, just like what she said. I think it's the most competitive UWC in the entire world, because I have like friends coming from like Changshu, China, and like from the Europe, and then they all say that Singapore UWC is so different because it's very competitive. And like weird subjects we have drama, we have dance, we have sports science,
DT.
Before I actually talk about academics and my personal opinion, I should probably give a disclaimer that what I'm comparing it to is growing up in India. There's a lot of academic pressure in general. Within the student body, I think there's so many different reasons that people came to my school. Just because because it doesn't have a reputation about being like lax on academics or very strong like Singapore. There was kind of this hating on Ivy chasers that I observed from certain parts of the student body that I didn't really identify on either side of, but it kind of let me down in terms of the diversity because it didn't seem like people understood that people come from very different backgrounds where sometimes school really matters. For me, all my motivation for school kind of had to be self-discipline. Like if you don't stick to deadlines, the school will intervene. But if you submit something that's not that great, no one's gonna say anything. No one's actually gonna push you to get better grades. You have to figure that out on your own. It was actually kind of like, this is not about the IB, this is about UWC. So we should prioritize this event over studying. There's one university counselor, one for the whole year. What he would say is an amazing IB score will not be the same as what I would hear from Indian counselors, for example. I did philosophy HL, which I don't think a lot of schools have. And we also had world arts and culture, which I think our school is one of the only IB schools that has it, if not the only one.
Lavinia, you looked really surprised. You guys have like a lot more.
We have, it's a big cohort. There's about like there's 350 at Dover and 250 at East. And I was just surprised because I can't imagine one person doing all those applications, but I don't know how many students there are at Adriatic. So
we were like 75 because we were a COVID year, but usually it's like 95. I think Singapore, like UWC Singapore kind of has an international reputation for being really good in terms of school admission. But I've also heard the perspective that, it's so academically focused that it shouldn't be counted as a UWC.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that?
But like, what do you mean by it's not a UWC? Like, what makes a UWC if it's not?
Because we don't have like the same split balance between academic priority and UWC mission and the values. And whereas Singapore, it's like another international school in Singapore because it still has that primary, middle school, and you have a lot of day students who live in Singapore. Like I used to be a day student in Singapore for 2 years. It was the one near my house. So I went there to learn. It wasn't because it was a UWC kind of thing. In that sense, it kind of has that issue where it doesn't get recognized the same way because they feel the movement isn't as strong. But then, I don't know, that's debatable. There's still, you have a very strong service program, you have very strong International Day cultural movement. So it depends on what you define as a strong UWC, right?
Okay, well, I've been there since K1. So I don't really know any different schools. Since I've been there since K1, UWC is kind of like written on my forehead. I think so. UWC SCA, not UWC. I feel that UWC Singapore, it is very academic. Then again, I don't know how else it would be. We care a lot about like global concern services.
The Singapore schools are massive. I think that's the only way to really understand it. They're massive schools. It's about like 3,000 people on campus every single day with staff and students. So the impact the school has is great, but then the diversity of students it has to cater to is also quite intense. So you need to keep in mind there's only so much movement you can have, and you also need to do your GCSEs, and you need to, and then you're in Singapore, which is already a very academically, like everyone goes to tuition. Everybody goes to Devesh. It's like the number one place. Everybody goes to this one tutor.
I went so many times. I guess they think Singapore UWCs is different from the other UWCs because I think there are much more scholars in other schools. But then in Singapore, it's like 350 students in our school. Then it's like in our grade, and there's only like 50 scholars, and then the rest is like normal like international students. Yeah.
There is a huge sense of community.
Oh, is my school rich?
I don't even know half the people in my grade anymore.